And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Attention to roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern Time, 5:05 Pacific Coast. Bright and early. Hope everybody had a good weekend, good Passover, and of course Easter Sunday. You know, anybody that celebrated Easter, I hope you had a good experience at church if you went, good experience with your family. So, John, this is going to be a good episode. Of course, Monday morning was striking right.
Well, where'd you go, guy? All right, we lost Eric. So, all right, let's get into this a little bit. So, Deputy Chief, NYPD Deputy Chief Paul DiGiacomo, he recently, Eric, you back?
I didn't even know I froze.
Yeah, you froze totally.
I didn't even see it. Usually it shows you.
Into this, and then you were like,
That's my weekend face. But look, we're back Monday morning. I think it's a great episode. A lot of people texted me. They're excited about this. It's our take on this. NYPD Chief bites back. I got a lot of thoughts on this one. What do you think so far? What is your initial take as far as the NYPD upper echelon fighting back with this, and Giacomo in particular?
yeah. So for those of you that don't know, NYPD Chief Paul DiGiacomo in July of last year was out at a protest.
You said Paul DiGiacomo?
Oh, Frank DiGiacomo. Excuse me. Sorry. All right, let's start that over. For those of you that don't know, NYPD Chief Frank DiGiacomo, right? I'm correct here, right? Frank DiGiacomo. So NYPD Chief Frank DiGiacomo was out at a protest July of last year. Susan Zwang, city council member for Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst, I forget exactly what district, was out there protesting with a lot of constituents fighting against a migrant shelter that Eric Adams was throwing down their throats. Protest gets out of hand. Susan Zwang bites Paul DiGiacomo. And I'm not saying like this wasn't like a nibble bite. This is like a vicious bite. When you saw the photos in the paper, Chief DiGiacomo had teeth marks, literally like she almost ripped a chunk of his arm out. So she gets arrested. She comes out raising her hand in the air. She's a hero to the community. She's immediately DAT'd, even though that is a serious physical injury. That is assault of a police officer. I don't know how that's even a DATable offense, in my opinion. She should have been put through the system. So she gets DAT'd. She gets released that night. We haven't heard anything about it for a while. I think council member Justin Brannon had made a joke about it and brought like fake teeth to the council at one of the meetings. And Susan Zwang had filed an ethics complaint against Justin Brannon saying, oh, that's not funny, this, that, the other. Anyway, comes out in the paper last week that Frank DiGiacomo and Susan Zwang, along with the Brooklyn DA, met and had a restorative justice session. And at that session, both of them agreed that they could just move forward, and that's it. Drop the charges are dismissed. There was restorative justice had. That came out last week in the New York Post. And then only a few days ago, we find out that actually Frank DiGiacomo had filed a lawsuit against Councilmember Susan Zwang, citing the permanent scarring, citing the injury, and mental trauma and stress.
Retired Detective Mike Smith, my brother, he says his balls dropped after the show put him on blast. We sure did put him on blast. There's no doubt about it. Now, let's try to put that aside. Let's pretend that Frank DiGiacomo's not firing back with civil liability here and actually firing back with a lawsuit. Let's pretend that's not happening. Let's just talk about the actual charge itself and how this played out in the DA's office. What this does prove is what we've been saying for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years since we started this podcast together, November of 2022. We have said since the inception of this podcast, along with our friends, our listeners, active retired members, a lot of the information spoken comes via this podcast, via this network, but our friends and listeners are saying the same thing, that no longer is the NYPD apolitical. And I think this is the pinnacle case that we can actually sit here and look at and say, wow, this is validity, and this is proof that the NYPD is no longer apolitical. Why are we having a meeting about restorative justice? It shouldn't make a difference whether she's a politician, whether she's rich, or she's someone of low economic status. It shouldn't make a difference. Isn't that the whole premise behind the bail reform itself? Isn't that the whole premise behind bail reform? The fact that economic status and your status, if prestige or not in life, should play out in the courtroom? Right here just solidifies everything we've been saying. It's no longer apolitical. So let's put aside this actual lawsuit. On the criminal side of things, Lady Justice is no longer blind. And the NYPD proved it.
So, I mean, here's the thing. I've never heard of this for assault on a police officer. How many times have you heard of a restorative justice session being offered to a criminal who assaulted and seriously physically injured a police officer?
I know you're waiting for the answer. It's got to be 0.
I've never heard of it. I mean, do you even think that do you even think that that's a good message to send? And Mike, I totally agree with you. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, is this just a lawsuit to save face? But when I read into it further, it appeared the lawsuit was drawn up like sometime in early March, but she wasn't served until late April. Not late April, but whatever. She wasn't served until last week, basically. So it really wasn't a result of the podcast. I know how it looks as it, and I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, is he just trying to save face because now everyone in law enforcement? I mean, nationally, people are asking, why did you partake in this restorative justice session? Like, why'd you agree to do that? And, listen, do I think that the council member should go to jail? I think she should suffer a serious consequence. I don't know that she needs to go to jail. Nobody goes to jail for assault on a police officer in New York City. That's just what it is. But now, not only do people not go to jail, they're not even held accountable. There's no community service. There's no anything. She seriously physically injured him. She maimed him for life. He's going to have her teeth marks in him forever. He's going to be scarred for the rest of his life on his arm. And I'm going to imagine it's a pretty traumatic situation when a council member bites you and you now have to face, you're in the most heavily politicized police department that's ever existed in the entire world at any given point in history. And now you have to make a decision on what should go forward, charges. I'm sure that the phone was ringing off the hook that day. And I'm positive there was political pressure put on Chief DiGiacomo to partake in this restorative justice session, as well as there was political pressure put on the Brooklyn DA from high-ranking Democrats for them to go forward in this restorative justice session. So this whole thing just shows how heavily involved politics is, not only in the political process of New York City, not only in policing, but when it comes down to the criminal justice system. So, I mean, the reason I asked that is because I'm going to tell you right now, I've never heard of this being offered to someone who physically assaulted and permanently injured a New York City police officer, nor should this ever be offered to anyone. I don't care that she's a city councilwoman. Doesn't matter to me. She shouldn't be.
Well, I love you, brother, and I always respect your opinion, but this time I don't agree. I think absolutely she should get jail time. There's no doubt in my mind. If you would assault a police officer, you should sit in jail. I'm not saying she should sit there her entire life, but there should be some penalty, at least 6 months. There's no doubt in my mind. First of all, I mean, it's one thing to punch a police officer, slap a police officer, push a police officer, especially if you're trying to not go back to prison, maybe something like that. And I'm not saying it's right, but these tussles, this is part of police work. But to actually bite down on someone's skin, that says a lot about the person and a lot about what they think about someone else. To me, it says a lot what she thought about Frank DiGiacomo in uniform. Now, I'm not saying she bit Frank. She bit the uniform. So that says a lot what she thinks about the uniform itself, the profession. And I think absolutely she should serve some time. I don't know the severity as far as, right, we saw the bite itself when it happened. We don't know right now if he was actually maimed. Did it leave a scar? I don't know. I think absolutely she should serve some jail time. I think it's ridiculous. And it says a lot to me about her character and what she thinks of law enforcement. And it sends a really bad message. How do we now litigate, or how do we criminalize any other assaults on police officers? Because in my opinion, this is far more egregious than many of the assaults I've seen in my career. I mean, I've seen police officers punched. So have you, John. We've seen police officers struck. But to bite someone, it's pretty evil.
I mean, listen, so I'm not totally disagreeing with you that people should get jail time. What I'm saying is that nobody gets jail time for assaulting a police officer in New York City. So you gotta be damn sure that someone who's never been arrested prior and is a seated councilwoman is definitely not getting jail time. That's what I'm saying. The standard set. I mean, we saw the girl that got co-clocked. I mean, that was a horrific, brutal assault on a police officer. There's no jail time for that. So, and when I take that, there's no jail time for that, as opposed to Frank got bit on his arm. I'm saying right now, standards are there, the case law is there. If discipline isn't equal, it's discriminatory. There's no standard in New York City to send someone to jail for assault on a police officer. There's not. So it hasn't been there. And that's what I meant by that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go backwards and go back to the days when there was actually broken windows prosecution and district attorneys actually cared about crime and there was actually penalties weighed against people. But yeah, there should be something. And what I'm saying is not only is she not going to jail, there's nothing there. She's not even getting community service. She's not getting probation. She's not on a 6-month ACD where she can't get in trouble again. There's nothing. So to say, all right, well, she's not going to have anything, and to where we're at today, that's basically what it is. Assaulting a police officer is legal in New York City. I mean, and technically on the books, it's not. But when you look at the times it's charged, first of all, one, it's never charged appropriately. So let's get that out there. First of all, the overwhelming amount of times a New York City police officer is actually assaulted and injured in New York City, and the perp follows through with receiving that charge from the New York City Police Department, not the DA's office. From the New York City Police Department actually charging assault on a police officer with a commanding officer not stepping in and saying, wait a minute, we only have 4.8 felonies charged a day in transit. We can't charge these people with assaulting a police officer because that would I'd have to make a notification to CAS. I can't do it. We can't charge it. We can't take that felony. You know how many times that happens a day? Every day. You know how many times a day? Multiple times a day. That happens often. So it's never even charged. So it's a rare occurrence when a cop is actually assaulted, injured, and the NYPD even charges it. Now, when the NYPD charges it, you go to the restorative justice DAs, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, Bronx, Manhattan, whoever. Nobody wants to hold anybody accountable for this. So yeah, I agree with you. Susan Swang should face a consequence, but nobody else does.
Well, we should rename her to Susan Fang, because there's no doubt about it. That was the first cause of action, is taking a bite. Now I agree with Franco. Good morning, brother. He says, yeah, that chief totally waved the white flag. You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking. This is no different than Monahan taking a knee. This is no different than any other chief taking a knee during COVID at the height of the George Floyd riots. This is the same thing right here. Honestly, I had put it out on X. This is a chance for the uniform to fire back, but would police officers get the same support? But honestly, this looks stupid. The NYPD is supposed to execute and bring cases to court without prejudice. The NYPD is supposed to bring cases to court and not have any interception of politics. But the fact that this case was dismissed and we're actually filing a lawsuit looks stupid. Is that going to be now the template for NYPD? Are we setting the tone, or is it only that he's getting supported for this lawsuit because he's part of Tier 1 in the NYPD? Is that going to be the nomenclature for the NYPD? Going forward, if you're a police officer, you're active, and you watch this podcast as we speak, if you get assaulted in the course of duty, is there going to be restorative justice and then you're going to file a lawsuit? Because to me, this now sets the tone. This is more just idiocy that I keep saying from the NYPD. This is insane. I can't believe this is the same job that we were on. This is ridiculous. And you know what? Frank DiGiacomo, honestly, you're a coward in this. You're a coward that you actually allowed this. But I'm sure he's going to get another star. I want to know what do these stars do? Do they give you balls? Do they give you a whole new mindset? What does he do for you? I guarantee, John, Frank will be getting another star. You can have that lawsuit all you want, but this is insane because you're supposed to support the police department, the rank and file. You're the leadership. And now going forward, if someone else gets bit, we're going to have restorative justice. I mean, I was bit myself several times in the course of duty, and I'd never had a bite that bad. That's pretty bad. Susan Fang took a chunk out of him.
So I see, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that people are annoyed about. And understandably, and this is coming from the rank and file. This isn't just us. Like this is what the chatter is. This is what the chatter has been. The chatter is, would she agree to that meeting if the roles were reversed? If you punched her in the face, if you bit her, if you did something that permanently scarred her, or any city council member, or anybody else, are they going to agree to that meeting with you and say, oh, yeah, just go about your career. Don't worry about it. And we all know the answer to that question. It's absolutely not. You're going to be the front cover of the paper. Jessica Tisch is going to terminate you. You're going to get sued for everything you have. You're going to lose everything you have. And the weight of the New York City criminal justice system, more than likely, you're going to go to jail. And the weight of the criminal justice system and the civil courts is going to be thrust upon you and your family. So I don't think that this was a good standard. Would you have agreed to sit down with Councilwoman Susan Swang in this restorative justice meeting? Because I wouldn't have. I would have said drop the case. I'm not meeting.
Oh wait, of course not. Look, that's why we're not employed by the NYPD anymore, right? They don't want masculinity. Frank DiGiacomo, as you know, as Mike Smith said, my brother, that his balls dropped after the podcast. I think his wings were completely clipped a long time ago. In order to make it as high as he did with the NYPD, other than Rob Lukash and Ron Layson, his balls were clipped a long time ago. I mean, no way are we sitting down having that conversation. No way. Are you kidding me? Are you crazy? I got a bite mark that I might have a scar with and I have to be reminded of Susan Fang for the rest of my life? Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This is an epic fail for the entire police department. You know, first of all, going back, we've completely lost tactics anyway. How do we actually get to the point that this little female councilwoman, and I've seen her before, that doesn't have much of a stature, how did she even get the ability to even bite him to this point? That's a whole nother conversation. But since she did, and she attacked him, and she assaulted him, and we're not taking action, this is terrible. No way. No way. And I'm sorry, Frank DiGiacomo, if you tried to restore some sense of masculinity, and maybe if you had a change of heart, obviously we don't know what happened there. But no doubt about it, politics played a role. You were a coward. You laid down, you took a knee. And you didn't take a knee just for you. If you thought, oh, well, I'll just take one for the team. This destroys the rank and file. Absolutely. Going forward, you are a problem. And you know what? I did feel sorry for him, but I don't feel sorry for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's play something else happened here. What would have happened if council member Susan Swangs at this protest. And by the way, I agreed with her protest. I didn't think it was right how Eric Adams, now anti-immigrant, when we'll get into that later. We'll get into Rikers Island and all that. But now the pro-Trump, he'll never criticize the president of the United States. How he was just dropping shelters in people's house. He was just dropping shelters for men right in people's neighborhoods without asking, right? He was like, this is it. New York's a sanctuary city. Take them in your house, We need to get a little volunteerisms going. Remember that? Volunteerisms? When he wanted some volunteerisms and he wanted you to volunteer to help.
Take them in.
We're going to get into Eric Adams and his immigration policy later and the failures of the Adams administration. And honestly, the failure of the Trump administration to do what needed to be done. But we'll get into that at a different time. But I agreed with the protest, right? So you're at the protest. Councilwoman Susan Swang is yelling against you. You've decided, Eric Adams is a great guy. I'm going to get my second star. I'm going to help this protest out, even though I'm destroying my own communities, even though I'm destroying the fabric of this country, and even though my tax dollars are going towards illegal immigration and not the people that it should be, the residents of New York. So I'm going to still stay in the New York City Police Department because if I do this, I'm going to get a second star and I'll be able to cash out my time, right? I'll be able to cash out my time. So, we're 2% extra in the 2-star raise. You can cash out your time. It's totally worth your integrity. It's totally worth destroying the future of New York City. And
John, you bank your variable, bro. You bank your variable.
And you bank your variable. Totally worth it, in my opinion. That's not Judas accepting the coins and going to kiss Jesus on the cheek. It's not that at all. Don't worry about it. You're all going to go to heaven. You're all great.
At least Judas got 30 coins of silver. What's he getting?
So you're there. And now Susan Swang is going absolutely insane and bites you savagely on the arm. And you, out of reaction from the pain, and in order to get a rabid beast from ripping a chunk of your arm off, possibly killing you because you have vital arteries and in your arm that could cause you to bleed out, you crack her in the face and you knock all her teeth out of her mouth, and she's laying on the floor in a pool of blood with her teeth there. Do you think that Frank DiGiacomo would have a job today? Do you think there would be a restorative justice session for Frank DiGiacomo? Do you think that Frank DiGiacomo wouldn't have been arrested for defending himself, for defending his own life? Because I'll tell you right now, you're all out of your mind. Anyone on the NYPD that thinks that if you would have saw a seated councilwoman get knocked out cold in a pool of her own blood after she seriously physically injured a member of the service and he was defending his own life, if you think he wouldn't have been arrested and removed from his position and there wouldn't have been protest after protest and there would be an actual restorative justice session, you're out of your mind. Go back to the case of Juan Perez when he gets choked on duty responding to a 911 call. And guess what happens to him? Guess what happened to him when he defended his own life? He was found guilty of assault. Same thing would have happened with Frank DiGiacomo. You could have de-escalated it.
Yeah, exactly. The only difference is a little difference with this, a little different caveat that Juan Perez was part of general population for the NYPD. Frank DiGiacomo is tier 1. He's part of the upper echelon. So he was promised.
He's fall guy status. He's not tier 1. He's Paul Saraceno status.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
I was going to get into that. You let me finish on it. But I was going to say that no longer is it necessarily are you safe in tier 1 because you have to watch out for the other rabid animals. So you're getting bit by Susan Fang, but you're also going to get bit by the other chiefs and the first deputy commissioner of the upper echelon of the police department. And that's what happened to Paul Saraceno. They're starting to eat each other up there because there's so much stuff going on in the upper echelon. So Frank, if you think you did the right thing, you are sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. It's not worth your 1/60th. It's not worth 2%. It's not worth having a scar on your arm. And I'm tired of people saying, oh, they bank your variable. Really? You don't get any interest while you're over 20 years on the job, while they hold your variable and they give it to you when you retire. It doesn't accrue any interest. I'm sick of people saying they bank it. No, they put it under a pillow. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care. It's not worth anything. But it goes back to what we've been saying. Where is masculinity? Where is moral principle? Where is the ability to stand your own ground and say, wait a minute, if we actually go forward with this restorative justice, we actually have this conversation, what happens to the rest of the department? What happens to the rank and file? There's no doubt in my mind. That I agree with you. There's no doubt in my mind that if he would have struck back and he would have had the upper hand and he would have caused any substantial pain or injury to Susan Fang, we would have a different story here. I wouldn't even be surprised if there would be a CCRB, also a substantiated CCRB, because we heard it from the horse's mouth. CCRB testified the New York City Council. They do not take the totality of the circumstances. They do not look at what's going on with the uniformed presence. It's based completely on the emotions, the feeling, and the statement of the civilian complainant. This is an abomination. This is a complete epic fail. QCB says, John, tier 1 are the chiefs of a darker skin color. No, that's not necessarily the case. When it comes down to tier 1, it's about status and where they are at the upper echelon of police department. And they're starting to eat each other at the upper echelon. There's no doubt about it. Frank DiGiacomo, you would have been eating this one too.
Yeah, no. It doesn't. Your skin color doesn't matter, and your gender doesn't matter. You have to be completely obedient. You have to be an Adams loyalist, and then amongst Adams loyalists, you have to be a loyalist to them, right? So you have a cowardly, weak, kneeling chief who's an Adams loyalist. He's in tier 1, right? If you're a loyalist to that cowardly, incompetent, corrupt chief, you are also a loyalist. Now you're a different tier because you could potentially be the fall guy. But like a guy like Frank, just still trying to work his way up, he's not. I wouldn't consider him tier 1. I would consider him fall guy status. He's a useful idiot in my opinion. That's what for all you 1 stars out there, that's really where you're ranking right now. Sorry, it is what it is. It's the truth. Not to say you guys didn't have great careers or did or didn't. It doesn't matter. You're in the useful idiot status. Like that's it. It's the state of Adams NYPD is in shambles. It literally is. It's terrible to watch. So the standard now is, if you defend yourself, you're going to get arrested and get indicted. If you defend yourself once attacked, you're going to get arrested, indicted, and then later civilly sued. But if you don't defend yourself while you're assaulted, while you're seriously physical injured, maimed for the rest of your life, scarred for the rest of your life, the person who does that to you will get a restorative justice session, suffer 0 consequences, and then you could sue civilly. That's the standard. I think it's a pretty bad standard. I think it's terrible. So I understand why the rank and file's upset. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that was a terrible call to allow that to happen. Because, we know, I told you this story early on. There was one time I made an arrest. I forget the exact arrest. It was it was a good arrest. It was a pickup arrest. The DA refused to draw it up. And I was just like, whatever. And I signed the decline prosecution. And my lieutenant flipped out on me. He's like, John, why the hell would you sign decline prosecution? Why would you sign off on that? He's like, if they're going to decline it, let them decline it. Don't sign. And so, right, I do not agree with the above statement and sign. Don't never do that again. What are you, stupid? He's like, that was a good arrest. There's something wrong with you. They're going to sue you down the road, blah, blah, blah. So that should have been what happened. You want to have a restorative justice session? No, I'm not cool with that. I'm not doing it. I'm not signing off on it. They signed off on the document, right? He signed off saying, yeah, no, I'm good with it. It's good. She shouldn't be held criminally liable. She realized the harm she caused, and that's it.
Well, there's an even bigger picture here, and there may be another angle with the play. And it could be, going forward, that we're not charging assault on a police officer. Because according to Michael Kemper, our friend who went over to the MTA, in transit, a majority of the felony assaults that were contributed to the increase in felony crimes in the subway were assaults on police officers. So going forward, if we do not charge assault on police officer, That changed the game. That changed the crime rates in New York City. Because right now in New York City, the NYPD is under fire. It's unfortunately the overwhelming majority of police officers that are involved in a tussle are getting assaulted. We see it time and time again. So going forward, I guess we won't charge assault on a police officer. Why would we actually make that charge and make that arrest if we're actually going to have this conversation about restorative justice? I don't think going forward, there's no doubt in my mind, there was already pressure before, but there'll be even more pressure from the commanders to their police officers, to their rank and file, to not charge assault going forward. I mean, we set the standard here. This is the metric of measure as we speak. Well, was it worse than the bite from Susan Fang? If it's not worse than the bite from Susan Fang, why are we going to charge assault? And now this is completely subjective. Do you think it's worse to get punched in the face or get bit? As far as I'm concerned, I think it's worse to get bit.
I mean, I won't go even back. I think they're both terrible. You're physically assaulting, putting your hands on a police officer, whether it's your mouth. I agree with you. More of a chance of being maimed and getting. You're gonna have to get a tetanus shot and all this other stuff. Maybe even a rabies shot, depending if she was foaming from her mouth, which she looked like she was. But now you sign off on this restorative justice agreement. You said, okay, a council member acknowledges her harm. And then you drop the lawsuit. One, I don't believe that he will follow through with the lawsuit. That's one. I don't think he's going to follow through with I think the lawsuit's going to get dropped. I think the same political pressure that got put on everybody, the DA and him, to meet in this restorative justice session will be the same political pressure that's felt on as far as the case, or there will be a minor small settlement. We'll never know the disclosure of it. So, but even if the financial thing, to me, it's not even worth it. First of all, she's a council member. She makes they don't make anything, honestly. Frank makes way more money than her. So the settlement, I don't think would even be a lot of money, maybe a few $1,000s if it went through the courts. But are you really going to go through with that? I just think overall, I think it's a bad, terrible precedent to set. And I don't know that at the end of the day it does anything. Honestly, I think what it did is to again further emasculate the New York City Police Department, further emasculate officers' standing in society, and tell everybody, hey, listen, it's okay. This is what they signed up for. Assault police officers, bite them, punch them in the face, do whatever. Maybe the worst that's going to happen, maybe you're going to get civilly sued. But for most perps, you're not going to sue them. You know why? Because they don't have jobs. What are you suing them for? You're suing them for the money you give them every month? Like, what are you suing them for?
I agree with our brother Rob Lukash. Good morning. He says the lawsuit guarantees his promotion. That I agree with. John, I think you're spot on. I think the lawsuit eventually is not going to play out. I think he's going to drop it. I think this is a big show, and this is the only pressure right now to secure his promotion. There's no doubt about it. I can envision it right now. There's no doubt about it. There was a backdoor deal. They had some type of sit down. Here, Frank, you're going to take one for the team. Here's what we're going to do. File a lawsuit. And that's the only thing he's holding on to right now. That's his only leverage to get promoted. Rob, I agree with you. There's no doubt about it. I just think that this really, I mean, it does so much harm to the police department. There's a bigger picture here. It does so much harm for the rank and file because an assault, and it's extremely subjective, excuse me, as far as what you believe is a serious injury. I mean, I think this is a serious injury. Being bit to the arm, he may have a scar that should not be there. And he may also have some trauma. Listen, being bit sucks. I don't care if it's by a little female or a big strapping adversary. Being bit sucks. Being spit in the face, anything like that, it's just completely demoralizing. And this demoralizes the entire NYPD. It demoralizes the rank and file. I don't know how this guy, honestly, I don't know how Frank DiGiacomo walks around with his head held high. This is absolutely insane. And this is why I've been saying for the longest time. I've been asking for one white male to step up and say what's going on with the police department, what's right, what's wrong. Thank God we found it in Ron Layson and Rob Lukash. But I'm waiting for someone who's still active right now, someone like Frank DiGiacomo, to say, wait a minute, this is absolutely ridiculous. This should have been the pinnacle moment. You say, you know what? Either you support me so it supports the rank and file, or I'm out the door. But instead, there's no doubt about it. There was a backdoor deal, and we'll see it. It's just a matter of time before we see another star. It's so disappointing that we don't have men with fortitude anymore within the police department that actually strive for the ranks. And you're right. It's not about color. It's not about gender. It's about loyalty to Eric Adams. For any cops that have told me in the past or actually present, and they still hear it, how Eric Adams has done so much good for you, has created all this overtime. The overtime is just incidental to the failures of the NYPD. You're not getting overtime because it's beneficial for your pocket. But if you actually peel these layers back, he's done more harm and than good, if any good. And if you think that it's because of Eric Adams that you have contracts, if you think that Eric Adams has made your life better as a police officer, you need to wake up, and you actually need to start peeling away these layers and see what's going on with the NYPD. I'm very disappointed in Frank. Frank, it's time to hang up the uniform. You have created a mess for the rank and file.
Yeah, it's that overtime that you got, that's a result of incompetence, corruption, and mismanagement. It's not because anybody cares about you. So you didn't make all that money because somebody wanted you to make that money, or they care about you or your family. Absolutely not. It's actually the total opposite. They could give two craps about you guys. And you're seeing it here. Drone Ranger says, funny thing is Frank DiGiacomo has an open CCRB from this incident. Well, I hear different. I hear that he doesn't any longer. I hear that open CCRB is gone. Could be wrong. I'm not checking into it. Don't care. He's going to end up with a bigger penalty as the one being bit than the biter. And listen, if in fact that CCRB is open, yeah, you're right. He probably will end up with he definitely will end up with a bigger penalty than whatever it is. I mean, because there's something, even if they took an hour from him or they documented it somewhere, it's going to be, that's a bigger penalty. So anything that happens as a result of that, letter to file, but I'm hearing those CCRBs actually, they went away miraculously. Weird. Pat Donahue says, since the charges were dropped as a result of restorative meditation, does that mean the assault on an LEO comes off the books? If true, restorative justice just made New York City an even safer big city. Listen, I don't know officially that happens, Pat, but I'll tell you right now, with the Crumbs and Street Thugs crew, it definitely came off. They're downgraded like it's nobody's business. And even with that, the numbers are still terrible. Even with all the corruption and the downgrading of crimes, Fox News will tell you crimes down. Newsmax will tell you crimes down. CNN will tell you crimes down. New York One will tell you crimes down. Your eyes will tell you something different. And New York City police officers who go out on the streets every day and police the street will tell you something very different. But hey, believe the news. Believe the news.
I think that's an important point that we spoke about here. It's because where's the restorative justice for police officers? Are there restorative justice conversations about police officers? There was a restorative justice conversation for Juan Perez. Juan Perez has conviction on his record for responding to a 911 call where he was summoned to. He was summoned to help where he was involved with an emotionally disturbed perpetrator that tried to choke him. And he struck back, fired back, and Juan Perez was charged with assault and convicted. I mean, look at the scales. Look how the scales are tipped in New York City. And yet, have we heard from other council people? Have we heard from other council members that they're opposed to this, that they find this polarizing, that they don't agree with this, and this is not a way to move forward in New York City? I haven't heard of any. Have you heard of any council members that are appalled by this and support the police department, support the rank and file? I haven't heard of any. Can you?
So Susan Swang, Susan Swang is a member of the Common Sense Caucus in New York City. Common Sense. How she wasn't thrown out of that Common Sense Caucus immediately is beyond me. Right? And so, yeah, 100%. I'll tell you right now, every member of the Common Sense Caucus is appalled by it. The far left radicals in city council probably applauded it. But nobody's going to say anything. The people that are against it haven't came out and said, oh, this is ridiculous. This is nothing. Because, it's politically inconvenient to do that. Politics takes precedent. Politics over people, politics over the truth, politics over justice, politics over everything in New York City. So, no, nobody's came out and said boo. Nick Francis says, once he chose restorative meditation, he relinquished any further lawsuits. Horrible legal advice he was given. So that's a great point, Nick. Do you think that the fact that he chose restorative justice and signed off on that is going to weigh heavily in his civil suit?
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, is it the same metric of measure? Absolutely not. Because in civil court, it's the preponderance of evidence. It's not based on reasonable doubt. In order for her to get convicted in the courtroom, it'd have to be beyond a reasonable doubt that she actually had the intent to cause a serious physical injury, and she did. Now, when it comes to civil courtroom, it's just a preponderance of evidence that 51% versus 49% that she did commit the acts. But the fact that they had a conversation about restorative justice and that there was another method to actually proceed forward, to me, I do think that this will hurt. And that's why I think this lawsuit's not going anywhere anyway. I mean, you clearly said that before. I agree with you. I think Rob Lukash is spot on. This is just a little leverage to ensure that he gets promoted, because there's no doubt about that backdoor deal has been had. Again, I'm just completely disappointed by this. You're right. I would hope that the common sense caucus is appalled by this, but it doesn't matter, because to me, silence is deafening and it's just another form of cowardice. And unless they actually speak out about the atrocities with this case and anyone moving forward, it makes no difference. So I will say this to any active or retired members. I hear it time and time again. And I hear it from police officers, particularly police officers themselves, whether they live in New York City, Long Island, outside counties, in the NYPD. Well, I'm not really into politics. I'm not into politics. I just do my job. Well, maybe a long time ago, maybe you could have worked in the police department or any law enforcement profession throughout the country and be blinded by politics. But no longer do I think you could be blinded by politics. You actually have to get involved in your local level politics and know who's actually in your city council and know what's going on, because it affects your job professionally and personally.
Yeah. I mean, so 100%, I think that him signing off on this restorative justice deal just weakened his any claim he has for anything else. I don't see how you could say, yeah, no, it's no big deal, and then be like, oh yeah, I'm permanently injured and I'm dealt with a ton of stress and all this other stuff. So why didn't you hold that person accountable then? You only want to hold them accountable civilly, not criminally. Weird, any defense attorney that sees that, I think is going to rip that to shreds. So I think it definitely removes his standing away from the lawsuit. Let's see what happens. I mean, I think ultimately, though, the rank and file from the gate was pissed about it. And this was like, they're like, at least he's doing something. I agree. At least he's doing something. But the rank and file of the NYPD is very upset about the fact that she was not held accountable in any way, shape, or form. And she doesn't even to the fact that nothing's going to be on her record, like that she ever even did this. You know what I mean? So it's literally zero accountability. So yeah. So we restore justice by allowing people to take a bite out of NYPD cops.
And the whole premise behind city council and New York City and stemming through New York State government behind the bail reform is that your status, your position in life should not hold any factor, any attributing factor to your ability to actually be home while a case is pending. When it comes to a court case, the whole premise behind it is everything that the city council has fought for, she's completely violated, because they have shown that her status has been very important in this case. Because will this apply to just any random adversary in the South Bronx? Will this apply to any random adversary throughout the city? Will they get restorative justice? Will that conversation be had? Does it make a difference on how many times you've been arrested, how many times you've been charged, how many times you've been convicted? Why did we even have this conversation? Again, where are people to speak out? And I hope any mayoral candidates that are actually moving forward actually talk about this atrocity. Because if you become the mayor of New York City, this should not be the city government that you want. This is not a good public safety plan or a good public safety platform that if there's an assault on a police officer or assault on a uniform, and as far as I'm concerned, I say this all the time, Frank DiGiacomo is a police officer that just has rank. Everyone there should be a police officer. Actually, everyone there should hold the title and be proud to call themselves a cop. Frank DiGiacomo is a cop with rank. It makes no difference to someone in the street what his rank is. This assault on a uniform affects the rank and file. Again, I said if we're not going to charge assault on a police officer, that skews the crime stats for the year. According to Michael Kemper, that assaults on a police officer was a contributing factor for the rise in crime in the subways. So this does a lot for the NYPD. I think this is absolutely terrible. I can't believe this is happening. I don't know if a time this has happened before. Someone had mentioned earlier in the comments, it's something that happened similar years ago. But this is a terrible precedent. This is terrible. How do we move forward from this? This is absolutely. If you go out right now and if you're a potential adversary, a subject, a person of interest, and if you bite a police officer, there should be restorative justice. That's what they're saying.
Precedent's been set. So Frank DiGiacomo, he started putting haunted houses in everywhere where he was a CO. So I believe he was the CO of the 7-8 at one time. And I think you guys remember a story a few years back when there was like almost a riot outside of the 78th precinct at this haunted house that he started at the 78th precinct. He then moved over to, I believe he was in Taru, and he went to Taru, and then in Fort Totten, he made the exhibit even bigger. Right. So he had this thing for all the kids to come. And listen, I'm not totally against it. And I think that the NYPD should do some community stuff. But I think that's really on the Community Affairs Bureau. I don't think that should be on a commanding officer to make a name for himself in the police department to get promoted to do that. Maybe offer up what you could do to help. But so Frank started this whole trend. So Pat Donahue, being Pat Donahue, asks a great question. Will there be a new exhibit at the Terra on Totten? That's Fort Totten, right? That's the exhibit. That's the Halloween exhibit that he's talking about that moved to Fort Totten. It's now much larger than the one they have at the 7-8, called the Fang Attack as part of the settlement. I think that there should be. I 100% think there should be. And for anyone that attends this year, please take note of the exhibits and let us know. Send us a photo.
As far as I'm concerned, and I don't care what anybody thinks, she should have no teeth left, honestly. But unfortunately, if he would have deployed a strike, to free his arm, there's no doubt about it. There would have been a substantiated CCRB, and potentially he would have been charged himself. But even at that point, does it even matter? But again, congratulations to you, Frank DiGiacomo. You're going to get yourself another star. Congratulations. You have a new tattoo on your arm, right? So you have a lot to remember from the NYPD, but that's okay. It's all worth it when you get that pension. It doesn't matter. That's the only thing I ever hear from the upper echelon. And we, even when I first got promoted to sergeant, that idiot retired Chief Resnick. I know you worked for him. That idiot, all he did was talk about his pension. I show his numbers and what he's making. I'm thinking to myself, okay, but you're never going to retire. So when are you ever going to see that pension? That's all these guys talk about. It's okay to take a knee. It's okay to give up your masculinity. It's okay to do all these things because you're going to get a pension. What does Pat Donahue say? Please clarify Pat Donahue being Pat Donahue. If your tone doesn't get better, you may need restorative justice, Mo. Yeah.
I love you, Pat. No hard feelings.
Pat, we want you to be Pat. Don't be anybody else, please.
Don't be anybody but you, bro.
But seriously, I mean, I'm so sick of that. These guys, that's all they ever talk about is no matter what, it's all worth it. The same thing was told to me when I was when I had made the decision to retire and I was under suppression fire from the overzealous CCRB, plenty of people told me, put their arm, don't worry about it. You know, unions and things like this. Your pension's good. I'm like, that's the only thing that matters? That's the only thing that matters in life is the fine, mighty dollar? It's really sad. It's really sad that that's the only thing that matters. Money, to me, money's important. It's a tool. It's a valuable tool, but it's something that comes and goes. Money will come in your hands and go out your hands in life. But your dignity, your pride, your masculinity, these things you got to hold on to, especially moral principle.
KB says, taking a knee was one of the worst things I've seen in my career. I honestly think it was the worst thing in the history of law enforcement that I've ever seen. It was the worst submissive that we've ever seen. But like the taking the knee was just symbolic. It was just showing you how politically captured law enforcement nationwide, especially in deep blue cities, how captured the political leadership of the political management, the politically appointed management, because we have not seen leadership in over a decade in New York City, in the New York City Police Department. You have seen it with lower down rankings, but not anyone with the title of police commissioner or any high ranks. So I think it was the worst thing that law enforcement has seen, but it was just symbolic of the knees that are being taken constantly, right? This also was a kneel. This was also saying, I'm kneeling down, do what you wish. A lot of people were commenting, a lot of older cops, a lot of guys that came on before us and after us and with us. And I had put out a post about this, about just the article, just the title of the article or whatever. And, one of the guys responded and he said, I forget who it was, but he said, we were in the era of, just move on, be bigger than them. Don't do anything. And he's like, all the times I got injured and I never documented it, all the times I was assaulted and I let it get downgraded, all of that, and I never sued. He's like, that needs to stop immediately. So I mean, at the same time, we could sit here and beat up Frank DiGiacomo. Should police officers sue when they're physically injured? Yeah. I mean, you should, but unfortunately, like I said, most of the people that you are assaulted by literally have nothing. So you're wasting your time. Who are you suing? So I mean, so there is the precedent there. And on the other end of it, should it be you personally going out and suing? Should Frank have even had to go out and sue on his own? I don't think so. I think the CEA should have been like, oh, you were physically injured? Oh, you were seriously physically injured. Oh, and you have permanent scarring. Oh, yeah. How'd that feel, by the way? How did it feel to have all that political pressure on you? Yeah, we're going to sue on your behalf for you. Right? And that shouldn't just happen to Frank because he's a one-star chief and he's in fall guy status. No, that should happen to everybody in the New York City Police Department. You're a rank and file member. You're in general population. Your union should step up and sue when you're seriously physically injured and you have permanent scarring or there's permanent injuries there, or you have trauma as a result of that thing. So so as much as we beat him up, I got to give him a little kudos too for the lawsuit. I just hope down the road he doesn't drop it, and I hope the decision he made to be involved in this restorative justice doesn't weigh heavily in the decision on his civil suit.
What do we teach on children also? What do we teach on children here? Obviously there's no accountability here, but what is her price to pay for this? It appears to be absolutely nothing. Okay, she's not getting charged, but what is her price to pay? She's still going to be a city councilwoman. She doesn't have to step down. She doesn't have to step down for her office, her oath of service. I mean, she took an oath to serve the people, to make her district a better place, to be a contributing factor to serve the public. And she's supposed to support the police department. She's supposed to support New York City agencies. But for her to take this action, it really says a lot about her character. And this is the people that we have in city council. That is scary. I'm telling you, I really mean that. I think she should have served some jail time. There's no doubt about it. To have the ability to actually bite another human being, I mean, if you're fighting for your life, that's something different. But to bite a uniformed presence, what does that say about you? What does it say what you think about the law enforcement profession? What does it say what you think about the police department that is supporting the agencies throughout New York City that support your people? What does that say about you? So I can't believe that we even having this conversation at this point. Absolutely, I agree. Taking a knee is the worst thing we ever see in the police department. To me, this is symbolic of the same thing. And some people may say, "Oh, we're picking on Frank," and you know what, Frank, you deserve it. You deserve it. That you actually allow this. And if you could allow this with one-star chief, with a star on your shoulder, what's going to happen to a police officer? What's going to happen to a police officer? Are they going to offer detective specialist? This is absolutely ridiculous. We have sold our souls for a couple of coins. You know what? Judas, at least Judas got 30 silver coins. What are you getting? This is ridiculous. I'm so disappointed. This is disgusting. Frank, you're a loser. Honestly, he's a bum. I felt bad for him at first. You know what? This poor guy got bit here. But this is the way that you acted. Honestly, I hope that tattoo reminds you of how you just laid down. And not only did you lay down for you laid down and it's reflective of the rank and file. Because moving forward, I tell you right now, if you're an active police officer, you better protect yourself because there's a message out there. You could bite a police officer. You could cause damage, significant injury, and even scar the police officer. And there will be no retribution. You're going to be, wow, I got this tattoo forever. And meanwhile, that person is picking the skin from your body off of their teeth, laughing because nothing's going to happen to them. There's no accountability. This is ridiculous.
So, and let's talk about the knee, like one last topic, and then let's get off Susan Swang, excuse me. Matt Donahue says here, I believe that because City Council did not speak out against Fang or ask her to resign, all the unions should withhold endorsements and donations for the entire City Council until Fang resigns. And KB says, Pat Donahue, we know the union will never. They want power and access. And so I think right off the bat, before we even say that the union shouldn't endorse anyone on City Council, and I totally agree. Totally agree. Oh, you're going to let this happen? Oh, she's going to remain a member of New York City Council. Yeah, we will not let you use our name. I do believe the unions have kneeled over and over again. I haven't done it recently, but I've often exposed the donations each election cycle that the unions do, and it's more often that they give money and their donation to people who were defund the police advocates than not. It's more often that they give money to people who you could look at the legislation they passed and easily label them as anti-police than not. It's a rarity that someone that actually supports the police is endorsed and funded by the unions. So I got one better for you. Do you think that this will bar Susan Swang from getting the fact that she almost took a chunk out of an NYPD Chief's arm? Do you think this will bar her from any unions giving her endorsement? I don't think so. I mean, I think in the near future, yeah. But if there's something that they need to get past or they want to get past, I think they're going to give her the full endorsement. They're going to go out and stand with her, and they're going to use their good name and put it behind her. And I think that's the ultimate need. And that's why, the same way we want to say politics over everything with politicians and with the politically appointed, the same holds true for the unions. They put politics ahead of their members, and they do it often, all the time.
Shout out to HFL. Good morning. HFL says, once you have time on the job, you will see there is no correlation between rank and integrity. Oh, yeah. And we see it time and time again. To me, it appears the more someone gets, I used to have this joke. I used to say, the more you get promoted, the better looking you get. And that still holds true within the NYPD. Right, Chief Mandry? A former chief. But also, the more that they get... What's that?
I said your body snatch gets better, too.
But also, it does appear that the more that people get promoted within the NYPD, especially when they start to get stars on their shoulder, they sure lose integrity. They lose all sense of common sense. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, except for Rob Lukash and Ron Layson. But these guys honestly just sold their soul. There's no way, and there's no way that, I would assume that he has a family at home, a wife and kids. There's no way that he had this conversation with his wife and kids. Hey, honey, you think this is okay that this woman took a chunk out of me, but they offered me a star? I mean, unless she really just doesn't care about you. Unless your wife just doesn't care about your well-being. Like, it's not worth money. She took a chunk out of you, and it's not even just the actual, is he going to heal from it? Is it going to affect his life? Probably not. But it's symbolic that you let her take a chunk out of your arm. She took a chunk out of the whole entire police department, as far as I'm concerned, because this is going to project even further. This is going to project to the public that, hey, it's perfectly normal to assault a police officer. It's part of restorative justice. Maybe they just had a bad day. Maybe Susan just didn't want to get arrested that day. She had a bad day. Frank was bothering her. You know what? Frank should get a substantiated CCRB for obstructing her teeth. He probably shifted her wisdom teeth from his forearm. So he should get a substantiated CCRB. That's what this is getting to. It sounds ridiculous, but that's what we're getting at this point, where a police officer is just a complete peasant in society and everyone else could just shit on them. This is insane, honestly. You know what? And I don't know what kind of masculinity Frank has left, if any. Obviously, he doesn't, because if that was me or you, John, or anybody we know with any sense of masculinity, she wouldn't even have any teeth left. And I'm not saying you have to be a tough guy, but there has to be some part of you that cares about yourself, enough dignity. I say all the time to people, there's plenty of people, you have to learn self-defense or train martial arts or work out in the gym. You have the right, and you should want to defend yourself. You should want, because defending yourself means you love yourself and you care about yourself and protect yourself. But clearly, Frank doesn't care about himself. Clearly, it's just the entire mighty dollar. It's really sad, honestly, that you let someone bite on you. You didn't take action at that point, and you didn't take action now.
Leo Firpini says, I love how they call it restorative justice. Just what has been restored. Well, it's the same thing like when we say police reform and criminal justice. What the hell have they actually reformed? They've regressed. They've made things worse. They've emboldened criminals. They've emasculated the police department. They've weathered away at the fabric of society. At the line, they blurred the line between what's good and what's bad. Honestly, I see the devil's work in a lot of this, and I think it's nice. You use these nice fancy words, and restorative justice sounds great until you look into it and you're like, yeah. So all right,
that's a great point. But John, that's a great comment from was that Leo? What did they restore? And that's a good point. These are fancy terms. It's word salad. They didn't restore anything. The only thing they did was implant and inject the mindset of the public that, hey, become a politician and you could walk on water. That's the message to our kids. Become a politician. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be rich in money. But, man, you hold all the cards when you're a politician.
Yeah, so, all right, enough of that. So, who cares? But on another note, Susan Swang is running unopposed. She has both the conservative line and the Democratic line in Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst. So any of you guys retired and you're like sick of this and you want to go have a little fun in city council, still living in Brooklyn, why not? We'll support you. Let us know. Let's go. So I see a good, easy political talking point to get you right through the finish line to beat her in an election. She bit an NYPD chief's arm. She supports most of these Democratic lefty restorative justice nonsense. And yeah, she stood up for you with the migrant crisis a little bit, a very little bit, extremely little bit. That's how she stood up for you. She bit a chief's arm. She did absolutely nothing else. She didn't push back and anything else. So, all right, enough of her. Pope died yesterday. Came out. He died early this morning. We seen him last night on Fox News. Obviously, that sends chills through the 2 billion Catholics and Christians across the world. So our thoughts and prayers with the Pope. Not going to lie, was not a fan of his politics whatsoever. Still say a prayer for him today. You know, I don't think politics, it shouldn't be that just because I didn't agree with you that we can't show love for each other or express love for each other. You know, obviously we wish death on nobody. But yeah, so we'll pray for the Pope. But on Saturday, we actually lost one of our own. Avid listener, the finest Unfiltered, Detective Second Grade John Egger of OSID. It's now considered CEIS. He passed away on Saturday in the hospital of 9/11 COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. He was set to get a double lung transplant in the past week, but his body rejected it. He was a Brooklyn North narcotics alumni. So, you know, our prayers go out to his family. Horrible. COPD is a horrible disease. My father developed it from Agent Orange in Vietnam. Horrible. You know, he was not a candidate for a lung transplant. It was horrible to watch him die of that. So, you know, John seems to be, he was too young to have gone. So, you know, again, our thoughts and our prayers are with him. You know, always terrible to lose somebody. You know, here's just a photo of John. So, you know, we, our thoughts and prayers to his family, his friends. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
I saw so much surfacing on social media and all over the place. It's so sad that we're still seeing so many line of duty deaths. Let's make no mistake about it. This is a line of duty death. These 9/11 related cancers. It's so sad that we're seeing just time and time again. It breaks my heart, honestly. And I've seen so many pictures. Oh, it's a shame. It really is. It's a shame that so many police officers are still affected by 9/11 and just feeling the effects. It's such a shame that our police officers were down there and just completely misguided during 9/11 about what they were exposed to and about what PPE that they had, if any. My heart goes out to them. It really is. You know, God bless you, brother. It's really terrible. Let's, you know, if you work during 9/11, please constantly check yourself. Please take all measures to prevent cancer. Take care of yourself, please. This is, it's really sad. It really is. And no doubt about it, this is a line of duty death. Very sad. My prayers to him and his family.
All right. So Eric Adams has been receiving a lot of heat this week from the Democrats, right? And he's been getting a lot of praise from the right. And why that is he's allowing federal agencies, including ICE, to once again be on Rikers Island. I think, wow, kudos to Eric Adams, right? But he's going to have a huge pushback, and he has a huge legal burden to bear in order to allow this to happen. City Council has great standing to push back to keep federal agencies, including ICE, off of Rikers Island. And the reason they have great standing for that is because of Eric Adams, because we've showed you time and time again, Eric Adams campaigned that New York City would remain a sanctuary city under Eric Adams, that Eric Adams campaigned that ICE will never cooperate with the police department or his New York City at all. Eric Adams was pro-open border. Eric Adams, for 3 years, had the ability to fight back, and he didn't. Instead, he incentivized the entire world to come to New York City, and he spent billions, 20 times more than every other sanctuary city combined, in order to bring illegal immigrants to New York City, while at the same time attempting to get them to vote in New York City elections in a lawsuit he just lost 3 weeks ago. So, but Eric Adams also had a chance to rectify sanctuary city laws. He had a chance last year to put this on the ballot in the City Charter Commission, and he refused. He wouldn't do it. He had the opportunity to let the citizens of New York vote against sanctuary city laws. And that would have rendered City Council completely inept to do anything about him allowing ICE on Rikers. But he didn't do that. And I'm sorry, I said last year, but I meant last election cycle. Excuse me. He had a chance to put it on the ballot. He didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Because he supported sanctuary city laws. Right? So this would be non-issue right now if Eric Adams actually ever pushed back against Joe Biden, but he didn't. He refused to. He refused to stand up against his own party. And now, like I said, Trump's walking Eric Adams around the yard while Eric Adams holds his pocket. And he's like, hey, Big Daddy, I'll do whatever you want. I'll say whatever you want. You know, that's what Eric Adams is doing right now. And Trump's, you know, bringing him around. So I'm watching. I didn't want to watch Fox News, but I was at my brother-in-law's house. He had Fox News on in the background. I couldn't just help them watch them talk about what a great job Eric Adams doing and how, you know, Democrats are going after him. And my head is spinning. And I'm just like, please shut this off. I'm like, this is why I don't watch the news. I can't watch this. It's all lies. Like, the whole thing's a lie. Like, he had the chance to do this with the city charter commission, and he refused to do it. And at that time, and even today, New Yorkers would have voted sanctuary city down. And so that's why he did not put it on the charter. So now here we go. The charter commission is coming up again. It could also be put on the ballot again for New Yorkers to vote on. And guess what Eric Adams did? He appoints the chair of this charter commission. Forget the guy's name. I'll give it to you in a second. But he appoints the guy. What does the guy do? He's against anything that goes against sanctuary city laws. So again, Eric Adams fails New York City. Again, Eric Adams shows you how in tune he is with sanctuary city. And so he's basically just going to sit there and play stupid. And he's honestly, he's playing the Trump administration like a fiddle. They're a bunch, because even though he's holding the pocket, when he goes back in the jail cell, he's wheeling and dealing with the other gang that he's pretending he's not with. He's like, I'm with Donald Trump now. I'm with you guys now. But he's really not.
I used to go out here with my shorty.
Richard Bury. There you go. Richard Bury. That's the head. That's who Eric Adams put in charge of the city charter commission that could put sanctuary city status on the ballot, which would, none of this would be an issue. But so Eric Adams appoints this guy, and guess what? This guy supports sanctuary city law and against any change to sanctuary city status. So guess what's going to happen? New York City Council's going to sue, and they're going to win. Actually, they're already suing, but they're going to win because there's legal precedent. Because Eric Adams refuses to do what Eric Adams needs to do. He is highly incompetent and he's highly corrupt, but he is very competent when it comes to playing games. He knows how to gaslight people, and this is exactly what he's doing. He's gaslighting you. And for those of you that continue to watch Fox News and Newsmax and all these other stations, you get what you put into it, man. And it's fun. I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, people really believe this. And I had people telling me about Eric Adams. I'm like, I just walk away. I don't have the conversation anymore. I'm like, hey, no, he's doing a great job. He should be the next president of the United States. He's the best. And I literally just walk away. Like, I can't even have the conversation anymore. But so with that being said, I in my opinion, you know, he's doing a horrible job. But at the same time, what are your thoughts about him allowing federal agencies and ICE on Rikers?
Well, it's funny, right? Talk about pushback with Biden. There was no pushback in the beginning. What did he say? When he was first in office, in his first, I think it was maybe his first 6 months in his tenure as mayor, he said he's the Biden of Brooklyn. He was all about the policies of Biden. He reflected all the policies of Biden on the federal level to what was going on in New York City. But it also solidifies what we've been saying in this podcast about the executive order, that at any time, Eric Adams could have instilled or implied an executive order in opposition to the sanctuary city, where people tell, he can't do anything. Sure, he can make an executive order. And Franco says 100%, Johnny. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think that you're right. I think he's a professional con artist, Eric Adams. KB says it here. Eric is all about Eric. That's all he cares about. His game of politics is to make it work for Eric. He gets his crumbs. He gets his private contracts. He gets his buddies. It's a good all time. But it's not about politics as far as what goes on in the city. It's all about what goes on for Eric. Now, for the people of New York City, do I think it's a good thing that federal agents are actually get their hands and what's tangible to actually get on the grounds of Rikers? Of course, it's great for New York City. But is Eric Adams creating an executive order because it's good for New York City? He's doing it because it's good for Eric. But unfortunately, the byproduct is that it's good for the city. So that's the only way moving forward. But of course, Eric Adams does it for Eric. You're right. He's holding Trump's pocket. But in the end, he's the one that's really holding the cards because he's making it work for him. I just can't believe the way we've seen politics play out, the way we see it played out for Eric Adams, the entire justice system. Everything under Eric Adams has just been insane. We could go back, what's going on with the NYPD, what's going on with corrections, what's going on with the fire department, what's going on with his administration, what's going on with the justice system. Everything around Eric Adams is just in complete peril.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm going to sit here. I'm not against ICE being on Rikers. There's absolutely no reason. If you have somebody who's violating our federal immigration laws and ICE doesn't want to lose them because the city's not allowed to cooperate with them, then yeah, why wouldn't we allow ICE to, once they're released, take them into custody and remove them from our system? I mean, common sense. Someone said it on here, ICE was on Rikers for years. Yeah, they were there forever until in 2014, de Blasio said they're not going to be there. All of a sudden, Democrats said, oh, yeah, no, open borders is a good thing because they decided that their policies are horrible. No one believes them anymore, and they need new voters. So, I mean, and that's basically what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, they were just attempting to build, and they still are attempting to build a welfare class. So I don't disagree with him at all, but his approach is inept. His response is inept. The way to beat this is through legislation. And that's why a lot of the stuff that Trump's doing right now, I'm not a fan of, because it's all executive order. It's like all stuff that you're going to lose in the courts. Like, beat this while you have the House. Get these laws put in place. It's a longer term game, but you got to play it. Reverse these laws. Put the laws in place to set legal precedent. So Eric Adams is just playing this gaslighting game, and he's playing the Trump administration like a fiddle. He got it. He got his indictment dropped. He got his charges dropped against him. And so so at the same time, I beat the guy up. I beat him up because to say, like, you're not paying attention. Like, you're not paying attention now, like, what's going on. He's not doing what needs to be done. What needed to be done was this sanctuary city needed to be put on the ballot, and New York City residents would have voted it down. They're sick of it. They're disgusted by it. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. Eric Adams spent 20 times the amount of money of every other sanctuary city combined. That means take all of the money that those other sanctuary cities, add them all up, and then times them by 20. And that's what Eric Adams spent. So don't sit here and tell me about how he's the savior and how he's going to help Trump save this country. We don't know where any of that money went. Billions and billions of dollars gone. We don't know where it went. We know that a lot of people are being investigated for shady contracts, though, and a lot of people that are being investigated for it were friends of Eric Adams. They were on the Crumbs team. They were lifelong buddies. They were members of the fake Supreme team before the Supreme team. So, it's there. So now what happens? Of course, they have to put the deputy mayor, Kaz Daughtry, out and the chief of department, John Schell, out to do Eric Adams' bidding, to hold Eric Adams' pocket. John's holding Kaz's pocket. Kaz is holding Eric's pocket. Eric's holding Trump's pocket. But he sends these people out to explain it to you. They're going to explain. So Kaz Daughtry is going to explain to us sanctuary city law, how it works, and Eric Adams' plan to allow ICE on Rikers. Let's hear what the illustrious deputy mayor of public safety, Kaz Daughtry, has to say.
Manarino. And welcome to Fix on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Manarino, and let's talk about this. The NYPD touting major decreases in crime. In the latest crime stat report for the first quarter of 2025, the NYPD reported an 18% decrease in major offenses on the subways, which is the second lowest in 27 years, and with 0 murders for the first time in years. There's lots to discuss about public safety. It's a big issue as we head into a campaign season, so I'm sitting down with two of the top leaders striving for a safer city, recently appointed Deputy Mayor of Public Safety. and former NYPD Chief Kaz Daughtry, and NYPD Chief of Patrol, Chief of Department John Shell. They are here going on the record. And great to have both of you here. Welcome back. It's been some time.
Thanks, Dan.
We missed you. Where you been?
We've been around.
Yeah. First off, congratulations to you. I know 3 months now as Deputy Mayor of Public Safety. Let me first ask you why you made the transition. Given everything that was going on at City Hall at the time, I know things have changed since then. At the time, it was a bit of turmoil, and you said, I'm going to go for this. Why did you want the job?
First of all, I don't think there was any turmoil going on at City Hall. I thought that city services were still operating as normal as it was any other day. Why did I make the move to go to Deputy Mayor of Public Safety? Because it's public service, you know. Dan, when you get to public service, it's about service, helping others and not yourself. And that's why I felt like I can a big portfolio, and I felt like I could bring a lot of great ideas and technology to a lot of these public safety agencies. And it's a Herculean task, and I won the challenge.
Yeah, technology is something big. You wasn't just want to get away from the chief.
No, actually, I miss. I don't see.
Public service is about service to the public. And then he wanted to take on this Herculean task of becoming the deputy mayor. I didn't want to stop here, but I didn't catch what he said. Now I'm listening to it. I'm thinking about what he just said in my head. So public service is about service. I guess Dan Manarino, who is the ground ball fluff interview layup for the Adams administration, picks on 11, whatever. There's a corruption scandal. Run to Dan and he won't interview you. He'll just let you sell whatever garbage you want to the public. So here we go. Kaz Daughtry. There was no friction going on at City Hall the last 3 months. There was nothing that happened. There were no scandals at City Hall, according to Kaz Daughtry. Everything was fine. And he wanted to take on this Herculean task of bringing technology to the city. I'm like, what? Dude, did you listen? So there was nothing going on. Everything we reported on was misinformation. Eric Adams was not indicted, apparently. There weren't numerous corruption scandals. Nobody was raided. That's what I heard.
You gotta love it, right? And that's what they do. Along with the gaslighting that this administration does, and that's the theme of this administration, gaslighting perception versus reality. And what they also do is they actually capitalize on the fact that people do have short-term memories. And there's people sitting here right now, oh, yeah, he's right. There's nothing going on. I mean, the case against Eric Adams was dismissed. Everything seems to be in place. But they forget that we're at the 4th Police Commission for the NYPD. We forget that Kaz Daughtry was elevated and promoted by Rocket Fuel. Kaz Daughtry, while he was promoted by Rocket Fuel, had pled guilty for official false statements. So Kaz Daughtry is, his credibility shot, and now he's according to him, he's in this position because he wants more public service. Because public service is public service, right? He sees better. He could be more fit in this position than he was with the NYPD. He didn't mention the fact that there was a huge scandal going on that he may get wrapped up into. I'm sure there was fear whether he would survive it or not. So he was elevated by Rocket Fuel to protect him and, of course, to protect Eric Adams, because we know that Kaz Daughtry knows, figuratively speaking, for YouTube purposes, he knows where the bodies are buried. So, and of course, I'm glad he said it. This is, as always, a layup interview. Unfortunately, I don't know if you heard, it was a bunch of reverb with this interview, so hopefully people can hear it. But complete layup, ground ball.
There's no reverb on the interview. That's something with somebody's YouTube. YouTube tends to have glitches sometimes. Whenever that happens, I recommend jumping in, jumping out. It was not from this interview.
Okay, yeah. So a couple people saying there's some reverb, but anyway, Kaz Daughtry is just a complete idiot. I love how he says that, he came up with innovative ideas for technology. Yeah. You just capitalize what was already there. Absolutely, this is ridiculous, and you've been the front man for Eric Adams. So the reality is, what he's not telling you is true. He does run the police department. He is, in fact, the de facto police commissioner under Eric Adams. There's no doubt about it. This is the state of New York City. Kaz Daughtry is your man. Wow.
Croita says, what does Kaz know? He must have some serious dirt on some people. The guy is a complete boob. All right. So I didn't mean to stop it at that. I just couldn't believe what he just said. So That was ridiculous. That was the worst intro and opening. I wanted to do this because public service is public service, and I wanted to do this to take this Herculean task to bring technology.
Public service is service.
What technology are you bringing in New York City? You're a moron. Besides your PlayStation controller, what do you bring into 375 Pearl? Nothing. You know, your PlayStation. Besides being the winning all your Call of Duty matches and your private duty chat because everybody's laying down to you, you're not bringing anything. All right, let's go. So let's get back to what we were talking about. I'm sorry, that just threw me off. What we were talking about is Adams allowing ICE on Rikers. So let's hear how they're going to try to sell this to you, and then we're going to tell you the truth about how ICE is actually going to act on Rikers under Eric Adams with the deal that was signed by Randy Maestro.
John, as much? Yeah, I miss you, buddy.
I want to talk about what we're playing out in real time right now. And New York City Council announced a lawsuit against the Adams administration for allowing ICE to have this office over at Rikers Island. So what exactly is the rollout of the plan, Deputy Mayor, over at Rikers Island? When is the office going to open? How many agents will be there?
So you just said ICE. There's multiple agencies that are coming on to Rikers Island. And sooner than later, it's going to be the FBI, DEA, ATF, the postal inspectors, and DOJ. We're bringing in all of these federal
But ICE
agencies.
is the one that has the lawsuit.
But they should put all of them down there because it's not just about ICE. ICE has been on Rikers Island since 2014 before. So,
but they were removed under the de Blasio administration.
They were removed, and now they're put back under the Adams administration because you want to know why? I think in the public safety role as a deputy mayor for public safety, it's important for us to collaborate with our federal partners for criminal enforcement when it comes to ICE. But ICE is just not the only entity that's on Rikers Island.
So can you ensure the folks that are worried, the folks like the city council who are issuing the lawsuit, that they're not just going to go on to Rikers Island and do a major sweep?
First of all, they can't do that. We're going to have we're in the process of working on an MOU. ICE just can't go onto Rikers Island and say open up cell block 76 and we're taking this person. That's not that can't happen. There are rules in place. There are sanctuary city law rules in place which doesn't allow us as a city to cooperate in regards to civil immigration enforcement. However, myself and the first deputy mayor went to Rikers Island numerous times, spoke to the guards there. You have gangs on this island. Tren de Agua also was named as a federal terrorist organization by the president, MS-13. There is a lot of stuff that is happening on Rikers Island that is out. That there are a lot of people calling the shots on Rikers Island into New York City, as well as Pennsylvania, Los Angeles. So the information is false.
But it can't happen until the lawsuit is cleared.
This is what Ivy League University.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Only Kaz, oh no, there's gonna be more agencies there. Under Eric Adams, this administration, he's about a safe city. That's basically saying that Eric Adams has got a better plan, that they're actually going to stem the problem of Tren de Agua. He didn't even say Tren de Agua. He said Tren de Agua. It's not a bottle of water. It's actually a gang. The name is Tren de Agua. And you should know that if you're actually doing your homework. This is an epic fail. I mean, this goes back to Eric Adams just fighting for Eric right now. If it wasn't for Donald Trump being in office and Eric Adams having this case dismissed by the Department of Justice, all these federal partners that you speak of would not be at Rikers Island. No way.
So, and here's the thing, like Kaz is trying to tell you, what he's trying to tell you is sanctuary city laws are in place in New York City. Eric Adams failed to put sanctuary city laws on the city charter commission and put it on the ballot and allow New Yorkers to get rid of it, which would allow ICE to remove both criminal and civil detainers. So what he's telling you is that Rikers, he's trying to tell you, he's failed miserably at it. I don't know if he's going to be able to get to what he's telling you is that they could only remove people criminally on criminal detainers, which is a very small percentage of the people that are on Rikers that are here illegally. A large portion of the people that are in Rikers that are here illegally are on civil detainers, which sanctuary city laws will did not allow ICE to cooperate with, and Eric Adams' administration is not going to cooperate with them because he's telling you right there, sanctuary city laws in place. We're a sanctuary city. So that's what he's telling you is, hey, look, we're basically running a public relations campaign, and we're doing a pretty damn bad job of it. And it's really not going to have much of an impact at all. So don't really worry about it. That's kind of what he's telling you. That's what you're hearing. If you heard anything else, sorry about that. But that's exactly what Kaz is trying to say. He's just not an effective communicator. He's not good at it, nor does he understand the issue. And like someone said on here, they don't believe he was prepared for the question. It does not seem like he was. But even if he was, it might have sounded a little more polished. But is that actually, could you actually sell that to the public? I mean, I guess you could sell it to Fox News and Pix 11 very easily. But when you look at it, when you hone down on it and you look inside of it, you see it really is an inept response by the Adams administration. And this is just, let's do something to keep Trump off my ass. That's all it is. Let's do something. Let's make it look like we're doing something. And we'll let them play games the whole time. And that's all they're doing. That's all he's doing. He's street hustling Trump. That's all he's doing. He's a hustler, Adams. But
well, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but they're not really allowing ICE to really do what they need to do.
Right, because what did he leave out here also? He didn't tell us, he just said it's a criminal detainer, but he didn't say what crimes will ICE or other federal partners that actually respond to Rikers, what crimes will they actually be allowed to coordinate and investigate? And if they're at Rikers Island, these are alleged crimes. They have not been convicted yet. This is not even played out. So this is just a big dog and pony show. They're just there for a presence to say they were there. But are they actually able to do anything? Because, again, these are allegations. These crimes have not played out in court. And what crimes is ICE actually going to be able to have their fingers on and actually put their footprints on? So there's a lot of information that has not been provided here. Just another dog and pony show. What is this? Gaslight 101, fight your perception versus reality. As our good friend, Finest Unfiltered family member Marlon would say, perception management.
Yeah. Pat Donahue says, can someone explain to me how Kaz has been deemed unable to testify due to he cannot speak on the legality of ICE and other federal entities being on Rikers? So he can't testify in federal estate court because he's not credible, but he could go up on the media and lie to you every day. So in my opinion, he's the perfect spokesperson for the Adams administration because they need someone that's able to go up there and lie to you every day. It's not a crime to lie to the public every day. Obviously, if it was, every member of the upper echelon of the NYPD would have been placed in handcuffs a long time ago. And every member of the Adams administration would also be in jail along with them. So, obviously, I think he's a public information officer. He could lie. He just can't do it when it comes down to the legality of it. So, I mean, this interview is gold. I think we should continue watching this. Let's see where, even though I don't know where it's going to go, let's continue to watch this.
Absolutely. We're not gonna slow down public safety because there's a lawsuit. So unless the courts tell us something, we are moving full steam ahead to go out to have these federal authorities on the island and coordinating with our gang team and our HIDTA teams that are on there. This is a good move, and this is going to keep New Yorkers safe. It's going to also, we're going after these public safety threats.
Chief, I want to talk about these crime numbers for the first quarter of the year, because you and I have also talked a number of times about perception and whether or not people feel safe. And now you have a story to tell about this drop in crime that marks the fewest shooting incidents in recorded history and the second lowest number of murders in history. So when you look at that, what do you account for the decrease?
Well, and we have to add something to that, being understaffing cops. Mm-hmm. So how are we doing it? When it comes to violence, shooting violence, and murders, I've been saying this for a while now. Simple formula. You take 20,000 guns off the street in the last couple of years. You put your cops where they need to be. You have your detective bureau solving cases. You have our gang task force taking on gang takedowns. You have our DAs prosecuting cases. When you do that, this is why we're on pace for the best year ever, which is 2017. When it comes to property crime, again, we use that zone concept with analogs that tells us where to be, at what time, what corner, what area. Mm-hmm. And we're an agency that can move fast. So old-fashioned police work, cops on dots, enforcing basic police work, making arrests when needed, quality life summonses when needed. And as a collective, this is why you're seeing the numbers, double-digit numbers. And Dan, we're always compared to 2019. We've had this conversation. Everyone compares to 2019. Right now, we're hovering around 2021 numbers. Mm-hmm. So we still have a long way to go, but we're making great progress.
But you mentioned something which was important, and that's with low staffing. So recruitment is an issue. It's been an issue. And how are you working together with Deputy Mayor of Public Safety to bring the numbers up?
simple, right? So we were at 40,000 under Dinkins administration. Now we're at 33.5-ish. Somewhere in the middle is the good number. But working with the deputy mayor of public safety and the mayor, for instance, one small thing we did that the commissioner spearheaded, and they gave the green light. Let's lower the college credits to 24 credits from 60. And right away, we got thousands of more people reigniting their application, if you will.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So one, he asks, how are they lowering crime? And he basically doesn't give an answer. He doesn't tell you how they're lowering crime because they're not lowering crime. That's basically the answer. The answer is we don't know what we're doing. We haven't implemented anything differently than we've been doing. Crime's just been lower because, don't pay attention to all those captains that are getting jammed up and all the cops that are saying that they're forcing us to downgrade crimes. Let's not pay attention to any of that stuff. Don't look at the fact that crime's actually still up from the 2019 levels. Don't look at that. Let's not look at all that stuff. Let's not look at the fact that crime's down up since when Eric Adams took office. Let's not look at that either. Let's play the shell game. Then they move on to how they're recruiting. They're not bringing up morale, so they're not retaining anyone. So he goes on to how they're going to recruit new people to keep cycling in new people that leave within the first 6 months after the academy. And what his response was, well, we lowered the college credits. And also what's happening with that, and that hasn't been reported in mainstream media. I'm hearing that not only have they lowered the college credits, but they're actually offering free, quick college courses that will get you the credits you need in order to go to the academy. So now that the NYPD is offering free college for you, so go sign up. You get your free college credits even if you don't want to take the job. You can go work for 6 months and then get off. That's what they're doing. So he didn't answer any of this. This is all gibberish. How'd you bring crime down? Dots on the map, policing. We got our guys are out there. We're out there. You won't see us. You won't hear from us. Our people are out there. Like he has not gave one clear answer on what they've done because they've done nothing.
Well, we're back to gaslighting 101. I was waiting for Maury Povich to come on. Remember Maury Povich when he would have the lie detector test? He's like, and we determined you are not the father. That was a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a complete lie. He's saying that the numbers are down to 33,500. I retired September 2022. I actually left like a thief in the night. I left in August. I ran my a month vacation time that I actually had left. And in August of 2022, according to that 360, which is on the NYPD internet, at the time, there was about 33,500. So this mass exodus and this staffing crisis that we had, we're still at the same numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a complete lie. Of course, John Shell wants to attribute this to the college credit thing. There's so many factors right now that they're doing to try to get people. And the people that they're getting just don't cut the mustard. This is ridiculous.
So 24 college credits, they lower to it. That's how we're getting all these candidates. And now in order to get more candidates, they're actually offering free college courses that'll give you 24 credits fast track. Good job. So you guys are a bunch of losers. You can't attract qualified candidates and you just continue to lower standards. So what have you done? Absolutely nothing besides come up here and build your own public profile. Let's listen to this garbage just a little bit more.
And we're getting more people signing up for the test. So that's a very good start to get more people in the department.
Is there a residency requirement
For
to be a police officer?
well, go ahead, John.
You have to live in the 5 boroughs: Putnam County, Orange County, Nassau County. So there is a broader, yes, but there is one.
Not just the 5 boroughs.
Correct.
I want to go back to Rikers Island for a sec. The public, the postal inspectors are also going to be on the island as well.
Okay.
We have, as you know, there's been several deaths reported on the island, right? Mm-hmm. They are individuals somehow getting the drugs in through the mail, right? So they're dipping their letters in synthetic K2 oils, like oils, and they're smoking them, getting and overdosing, right? So the postal inspectors are also going to be tasked with helping us find out who the individuals are that are bringing this contraband into the island.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. It's an important part of this story.
Yeah.
But just to go to the crime numbers for a second, because a big part of what you both talked about in our previous conversations is people who are committed crime and then are back on the streets, right? And recidivism.
So Kaz gives him a talking point, and he's like, "Yeah, didn't ask you that question. I don't know why you're telling me about the vocals suspected," and that's it. And then he continues to go. So I just wanted to point that out. And then he's like, "What? Why'd you tell me that?" So this is like the one piece of information that Kaz had to actually share that was in his head. Great job, Kaz.
Recidivism. I want to talk about what's taking place in Albany right now, and the budget's being negotiated. The holdup seems to be over the discovery laws. So let me begin with you, Deputy Mayor. Is that something you want to see change?
I do. I mean, we had 5 years now with these new discovery laws. It's not working. We have a recidivist problem, right? Well, if I told you that 545 people were arrested for shoplifting, has a combined arrest of over 7,500 times. It's just these stores, these store owners, these business owners should not have to lock everything behind the shelves and lock everything inside of like locked cabinets in their store, because individuals keep coming in there and thinking it's their pantry closet. It's not right. How do you rehabilitate somebody that has been arrested over 90 times for shoplifting? These rules have to change. There has to be some consequences for it.
So let me conflate two things here. When it comes to discovery, we, the district attorneys, aren't looking to change the spirit of the law.
Okay.
And now they've been looking to change the time frame to accumulate this paper. What's relevant to the case and what's not relevant to the case. They're asking the judge to say, "Hey, look, if there's a piece of paper missing in the case, that's not relevant. It's part of the case, but not relevant." Instead of automatically dismissing the case, they want the judge to take a look at it and say, "You know what? I know this piece of paper is missing. There's a delay, but it should not throw the case out because the victims suffer here." And now when you conflate that with recidivism, in 2024 versus 2018, when those major crimes, recidivism was up about 50%.
So you're saying, for those who don't understand the discovery process, you're saying currently, if there's somebody who commits a crime and it goes to trial or whatever it may be, it could be dismissed because of a piece of paperwork that's not relevant to the actual crime, say an officer's time card.
Correct. So something is, well, the 25th body worn camera of a cop that showed up 10 minutes after the event, and we can't get that camera. We're going to get it, but we missed the time frame, slight delay. It shouldn't be an automatic dismissal. Let the judge say, "Okay, you're going to get this camera, but we're not getting rid of the case." And that is the key caveat to what we're asking for in Albany.
And so the viewers, I say, well, how come the officer doesn't send their body camera?
Yes.
What's the problem with that? What happened if that officer is on vacation?
Okay.
Yeah.
Out sick?
Yeah. I only have a minute left with you guys. I want to ask you about federal funding. There's been a lot of talk about federal funds being withheld from New York City and what have you. If there is federal dollars that are withheld from New York, could that impact at all the budget and public safety?
No. First of all, this is why it's important. You know, people criticize the mayor for, wanting to meet with the administration. I heard it from somebody, it's better to see what's on the menu than to be what's on the menu. So this is why it's important to have a relationship with the federal government so that, and for instance, if they're talking about cutting certain federal funding for New York City, we can sit at the table and tell them, "Hey, listen, if you cut this, you're going to affect whether it be OEM, whether it be, for some funding for transit." Yeah. So this is why it's important for us to have the relationship so we can speak with the Trump administration and explain how much the federal funding will hurt if it cuts.
2 seconds.
And the proof is in the pudding. 225,000 migrants dropped in our city. We didn't get any federal funding. It cost us $5 billion, and the mayor had to come up with creative ways to make that happen, and he did. So if that did happen, we can get creative. We're the best city in the world. We'll make it happen.
Okay. Good to have both of you here. Come on back.
We want more time with you.
More time next time. We're out of time now, but it was a great conversation. Yes. Come on back soon. Okay. So there's a lot to talk about, mental health and so many more things. We'll have you back sooner, right?
Oh boy, look at this crew. Look at this crew. Marlon, our brother here, called it. It should tell you everything. Kaz Daughtry's here. Why isn't Jessica Tisch here? Because Jessica Tisch is exactly what I've been saying since the beginning. She's a puppet and a patsy. Kaz Daughtry is really the one who's running the police department under the thumb of Eric Adams. This is ridiculous, honestly.
So, and my thing is, like, why do you need to change the discovery law? Why does anything need to be changed? You guys are doing such a great job. Everything's good, right? Everything's fine. Everything's working. Like, what do you need to change the discovery law for? And they don't even present solid points. Shell did. Shell presented a solid point. Like, hey, listen, just because you're missing one piece that will get you shouldn't be grounds to throw the case out. And that's what that discovery law does. So they're asking for the revision for it, but it kind of goes against everything they've been selling you, right? They're like, oh, recidivism's the main problem. Crime isn't a problem. So if crime isn't a problem, why is recidivism a problem? What are you talking about? And then Kaz gives the example about, well, what if the cop's on vacation and we need his body camera? Or what if he's out sick and we need his body camera? The case shouldn't be thrown out. And Ron Layson brings up the best point in the whole thing. The best point is, does Kaz have any idea how body camera works? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant on if on vacation. If body camera was docked, the video is available. So if body camera was docked, the video is available. So exactly, that body camera stuff is there. Listen, so Eric's not feeling too well, so we're gonna wrap this up. So Eric, just if you're listening, just stay off, bro. It's fine. I'll end this off. But yeah, this is what's it called? This is an example of why Kaz should not be there. He doesn't understand it. His points there can't get taken properly because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Last thing I think we should just wrap up on before we run is Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul's pushing back at the congestion pricing, right? Trump gave her a federal mandate that said I believe as of today, the 21st, that the cameras would be off. Kathy Hochul's telling you they're going to stay on. She doesn't care about the Trump administration. They're going to stay on. This is where we need to see what the Trump administration is capable of. This is going to be their first test at actually pushing back against these governments. They've aligned themselves with Eric Adams, where he's helping them with the migrant crisis. But like we've showed you here, it's more like gaslighting. It's good for media. It's good for social media. It's good to get the news clips and the newsreels, but it's not really actually solving the problem. So now we're going to see the first pushback. Kathy Hochul says the cameras are staying on. She does not care about that federal decree. What is the Trump administration going to do? That's the question I think everybody should be asking. We don't know. We don't know. We're going to see. I would hope that there'll be federal intervention and possibly funds would be pulled from New York State and New York City until those cameras are turned off. But I don't know what's going to happen. Is there just going to be more gaslighting and more lawsuits back and forth while the cameras stay on and New Yorkers are getting charged for this congestion pricing? We don't know, but we're going to see. We're going to see how capable the Trump administration is. Kathy Hochul is now going to put Trump's feet to the fire. Let's see what Trump's going to do. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I hope he's going to do the right thing. Let's see. Something should be done. You gave a mandate. You drew a line in the sand. Kathy Hochul's crossing it. Let's see what's going to happen. Other thing, Letitia James, all over the media. Great job to Sal Greco having Sam Antar on to expose that months prior to this being all over the media. Everybody's taking credit for Letitia James, right? The breaking the Letitia James story. Laura Luma, I don't know what's wrong with her. She went on the attack against Sam Antar, saying horrible things about his dead children, which were not true, by the way. And just in order for her to say, I put this out first, she did not. She did speak on some stuff with Letitia James's mortgage, but it's not the investigation that Sam went deeper, right? Sam went much deeper into that investigation. And then Joel Gilbert went even deeper into Sam's investigation. But Sam's investigation was what really sparked the ball rolling. Right. And so we see that Letitia James is being alleged to being guilty of mortgage fraud, mail fraud, numerous other types of fraud, mortgage fraud. What's going to happen to Letitia James? That's my question. What's going to happen to her? We saw Eric Adams get caught with his hand in the cookie jar. We saw he stole millions of dollars, misused millions of dollars in taxpayer funds. He was running a straw donor scheme, which people were indicted and pled guilty to. At the same time, he was taking bribes from the Turkish government. He was caught red-handed and absolutely nothing happened with it. So my question is now, because Letitia James was directly against the Trump administration, will she be held accountable for her actions? She hasn't been arrested. She remains the attorney general today. He says that the claims are baseless, although there's irrefutable evidence of the crimes that she has been alleged to have committed. And she remains the attorney general today. Now, let's just put that into result if that was you or me, or let's play the game that it was a uniformed member of the service. What would happen to them? They would immediately be stripped of their gun, their arrest authority, their badge, and they would be placed on modified assignment. Why is the number one chief law enforcement officer in New York State not being held accountable? Has not been arrested. Charges have been recommended to the DOJ. What is the DOJ going to do? I think that's the question we want to hear. When I watch the news, when I see everyone posting and talking about Letitia James, that's the one point I don't hear. Is she going to ultimately be held accountable, or is this just going to be more gaslighting to the public? And are we going to see that? Are we going to see that again? Politicians are not held accountable. They're not held accountable to the same laws that we are. That there's two standards of justice in America. I don't know. Again, so let's see what happens. Thanks everybody for joining us. We had about 900 people on here this morning. We appreciate all of you. We'll be back at you Wednesday 08:05. Check out Sal's show tomorrow at 13:05, which is 1:05. He's going to have, I believe, Jason Goodman's going to come on his show, and they're going to talk about some other type of fraud that's going on with Adam Schiff. And so I want you guys to remember where you're going to hear it first. Find us on Unfiltered Media Network. That's where you're going to hear about it first. So that's going to be an interesting story. Check out Sal's show tomorrow at 13:05 or 1:05 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. On Wednesday, myself, Eric will be back. We've confirmed last week. We'll confirm again. We're going to have Zohran Mammadani on, Democratic Socialist mayoral candidate. That'll be Wednesday 08:05 in the morning. And then Wednesday 17:05 or 5:05 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have the executive perspective. I know Eric is not feeling too well, but let's see what he's got to say before we end out.
I just threw up a couple of times. I'm good. I don't know what happened. What?
Terrible. All right. Well, we're wrapping up anyway. So that's
I don't know what happened. I ate it Outback last night, and I don't know. Everything was coming up. I remember I came home. I went with my daughter. I told my wife, I don't know what's going on. I went to Outback. It was terrible. But I woke up this morning. I was hurting. I'm like, I'm going to make it through a power through. So I think I'm good.
Yeah, we're done. Don't worry about it.
Listen, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. One of those days. Rob Nabby says it's the blooming onion. Probably. Listen, thank you, everybody. We will be back Wednesday. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I think it would be good. Of course, check out Sal Greco. And Wednesday, also, the executive perspective. Love it. Listen, we got a good week for you. We got a good year coming for you. Thank you, everybody. Friends, listeners, and haters. We appreciate it. Let's keep building.
All right, find us on Unfiltered. We'll be back at you.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.